And welcome to this tutorial video. I am Adrian from the Freakish Lemon Video Podcast, and today I'm going to talk to you about changing colors in your crochet. This tutorial assumes that you have basic knowledge of the different stitches in crochet. If you do not have this knowledge, please see a link down below to my basic crochet tutorial so that you can familiarize yourself with the different techniques that I'm going to be using. For reference, I'm using a US H 5mm hook with worsted weight acrylic yarn. You can use whatever yarns or hooks you have, but I wanted to give you a reference for what I'm using in this tutorial. Primarily, what I'm going to be talking about is changing colors in crochet working flat, but the same principles apply when working in the round, in a granny square, or a toy type construction. I'm going to be talking about changing color in a single crochet and a double crochet stitch. And later on, I'll talk a little bit about the magic knot way of changing colors. One method that I won't be particularly talking about here is the spit splicing method, because I am working with acrylic yarn, and spit splicing does not work with acrylic yarn. But if you are working with wool, that is grabby and you can felt it in the spit splicing way, you can absolutely use that method to change colors without having any ends to weave in. So this is the sample swatch I've done so far. This is 3 rows of single crochet stitches, and I've done a couple of stitches here that are ready to go, and I'd like to change colors in the middle of this row. So what most people do when they first learn how to crochet is they will finish a stitch and then say I want to add some orange in here. You've got your 1 working loop. You go into the next stitch, do a yarn over in the new color, pull it through, and then finish your single crochet. I'm going to go a couple of single crochets along so you can see what that looks like. The problem with this, you can see, is that the finish loop from this stitch carries over onto the top of this orange stitch. Now, if your yarns are very close in color and you're like blending a gradient, that probably wouldn't bother you quite so much, but you can see the contrast between this white and this orange makes that stand out a lot. So what you would do to stop that from happening, I'm just going to clip that end of the white. You're going to start your single crochet stitch. So you've got your 2 working loops on the hook. And then instead of doing your yarn over in the orange, you're going to do your yarn over in your new color. So I like to leave nice long tails to work with. So we'll do a yarn over in the new color and pull that through. Now it looks a little funny right now, but if you continue on, do a few, we'll finish out the row. you can see there's a lot less jarring or mixing of the colors. You can see that is clearly a white stitch and that is clearly an orange stitch. And any part where they kind of overlap will be covered up in the next row. So we'll just do that again real quick so you can see it. So here we have, we're going to start our single crochet. We have the 2 working loops on the hook. We're going to take our new color, do a yarn over, and pull it through the 2 loops. And continue with the new color. And the same principle applies for changing that color in the middle of the row as changing it at the end of the row. We will finish out this row and then change colors again. So we're coming to the end of the row. We've got a chain stitch we've got to finish here. So we have our working loop. We go into our chain at the end of the row, yarn over, pull the yarn through, so you have 2 working loops in the first color. You do your yarn over in the new color, and then pull both loops through. Then you would turn the work and start your new row as usual. It's a little bit wonky because I just worked the stitches, but you can see there's a clear separation between the new color on this top row and the orange on the second row down here. So we'll go to the end and we'll do it again. So we've got our working loop. We go into the stitch. Just takes a little bit of finagling on that last chain. Yarn over, pull the loop through. And where'd that orange go? Do the yarn over in the new color, pull it through both loops. Then you can start your new row in your new color. That is for single crochet stitches and also the half double crochet stitch. Where you add your new color in a double crochet stitch is going to be a little bit different. So we're going to start the double crochet stitch the way you normally do. One working loop, yarn over, into the stitch, yarn over, pull it through. You're going to do your first yarn over and pull through 2 loops as normal. Then the second yarn over and pull through 2 loops you're going to do in the new color. So that when you do your next double crochet, you have a nice clean color separation between the 2 stitches. I'll do that again. We will start a double crochet, 1 working loop, yarn over, into the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over once, pull through 2, yarn over with your new color, pull through 2. And start your next stitch with your new color. You have a nice clean color change. Same thing applies for the edge stitches. So we'll change colors again with this edge stitch. You do the start of your double crochet, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over with your new color, pull through 2. Turn the work and start the next row with your new color. So you have a clear distinction with the stitches. If you're in doubt as to when to change your new color during the creation of the stitch, it will always be the last yarn over and pull through out the top of the stitch. So we'll get to the end of this little row. We'll do it one more time. So that's the last double crochet. Start my double crochet for the last stitch, 1 working loop, yarn over, into the stitch below, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and then change color. So you'll yarn over in the new color and pull it through the top 2 loops. You would start your new row with your new color. There will be a little bit of color showing through on the edge stitches just because of the tension of the stitches. You can fix that when you're weaving in your ends. Finish this off. Ideally, you'd have all of your ends on one side, so let me just pull all these ends to the other side so I can show you a clean side. That should have gone through this. There we have some, you can see here's the stitch that we first did that still had the white top on it. It is hidden by the row above it. So again, if your yarns are close in color, that's probably not a big deal for you. But if they're like this, where you want them to end and they're contrasting, you want them to end cleanly. So just remember, before you finish the last stitch of the first color, on your last yarn over with the new color to pull it through the top of the stitch. I'm also going to show you the magic knot technique. This is my actual granny stripe fingering weight scrap blanket. I'm using a USB 2.25 millimeter hook for this project. And I will show you how to create a magic knot and 2 different ways to finish that knot. If I can find the end of this ball. So a magic knot is simply a specific way of tying 2 yarns together. You have this, the first yarn, and you have this, the second yarn. Basically, the way a magic knot is constructed is you tie a knot using your first yarn to your second yarn, then a knot using your second yarn to tie it to your first yarn, and then you pull them together so that the 2 knots snug up next to each other. So, with your first color yarn, you're going to find a section of your second color yarn. You're going to loop it around like this, tie a basic knot. Pull it snug. You're going to take the tail end of your second yarn, find a piece of your first yarn and do the same thing. You're going to loop it around and tie a knot. There are more detailed tutorials out there for the specifics of the magic knot, and I will link to it below. So now you have a knot made using the first color yarn, and you have a knot made using the second color yarn. You're going to take the working strand of the second color and the first color, pull those knots together tight. In the traditional magic knot, you would then clip your tails very, very close to that knot. However, some people do find that to be worrisome, having just relying on that knot. If you are using a very grabby woolly yarn, that knot should be fine. For most yarns, I think this would be fine if it is made of wool. This yarn is made of wool, but I don't know what kind of blends of wool specifically these are, or what any subsequent colors will be. If you're using acrylic yarn or something that is not grabby at all, just the knot alone may not hold. So what I do, and what I have been doing for this blanket, is creating the magic knot, pulling it in tight, and then working with holding the working yarn and the tail together. So let me quickly get this blanket to that point. Okay, so here we go. Pull the tail along. Then I hold the two yarns together. Which will help hide that knot. And then when it's too short to hold together, just continue with the second color. Just finish this cluster so I can show you. So you can see here we started holding the yarns together. The knot is somewhere in there. We kept going until I couldn't hold it together anymore. This does change the gauge of your stitches, but for a fingering weight yarn, I have found that it's not that noticeable in the blanket itself, because you're not going to finish on this edge. This edge will be completely buried in this blanket. Let me find another one. You can see here, these clusters are where I held the yarns together. But in the scope of the blanket, it doesn't look that different. When I'm finished or further on in the blanket, what I'll do is either weave these ends in for extra security or just snip them, because I left them 6 to 8 inches long in order to have 2 or 3 at the least stitches where I held the yarns together. So even if that knot magically does come undone, and it magically ends up unwinding all these stitches, there's enough tail there that I could fix it and then just weave in the ends normally. So that's my tutorial on how to change colors in crochet. If you have any questions about these techniques, please leave them down below. Don't forget to subscribe or thumbs up or favorite this video if you found it to be helpful. And thank you for watching.